It's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks since I last casted a game of StarCraft 2. All of the videos that have gone up on the channel over the last couple weeks, I prepared those in advance, and, well, literally as of today, I am out of videos. I have no more videos to post, which is very convenient, because after the air operation is now over, I'm actually feeling good enough again to go ahead and record videos. The doctor told me I should have been okay again to cast games, like 3 days after the operation. I'm very glad that I prepared a few more videos than that, because 3 days after the operation, I did not feel okay to cast any games of StarCraft. Now, I figured we'll start with a best of 3 series. That was on my list of games to still cast from the ESL Masters Spring Tournament. So this is a $100,000 prize pool event that took place a couple weeks ago at this point in time. And this is a best of 3 that I've been meaning to check out ever since the replay pack first released. So spotting right here at the top left-hand corner in game number 1, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have none other than Serral. His opponent in the top right, playing with the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of Hero. I've been looking forward to this though. Now, I am somebody who generally does the same routine day in and day out. And as soon as that routine kind of drops off, I feel like, I don't know, I feel off immediately. Like, I'm not particularly great. For example, usually on Sundays, I do a whole lot of nothing, or at the very least, nothing LowkoTV related. Sundays can take me a while to get into. It can take a while for me to get into as well. So for me to not cast any games of StarCraft for literally 2 weeks, and for me to really, yeah, just be thrown way off of my regular routine, it doesn't feel right, man. It's nice to get back into the regular scheduled, well, video production right now. Looks like Hero managed to get the hatchery block right over there on the low ground to the natural expansion. Serral forced to go for the 3rd base, what is normally the 3rd base as his very first expansion. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, it's a regular fast expand opener here from Hero. Hero, of course, considered to be the best Protoss player in either the world or at the very least from South Korea. This man is ridiculously good. Serral, considered to be the very best StarCraft 2 player ever. At least by most StarCraft commentators out there. Do I want to immediately get into the drama again? I like how the referee literally posted a question mark. No more human communication than the bare minimum. Go, go, go. Those are GL, HF, GG. We just speak in riddles. We just speak in riddles. It is what it is. I do love the single question marks though. It's funny, especially when you see non-Koreans trying to communicate with the Koreans. They immediately start referring to just singular question marks, for example, and it works. It's convenient. Probably just a little bit of a keyboard issue or an audio balancing problem or whatever. Sometimes there's like a little hotkey that's a bit off. I always like this play. Hero going from the high ground. Perfect defense so far, though, from Serral, as is to be expected. This is a matchup, by the way, where overall, it seems like Zerg players are struggling quite a bit compared to where we used to be. For the longest time, especially players like Serral, absolutely dominating the competition, not really dropping any maps anywhere. Most of the top-level Zergs right now are struggling against Protoss quite a bit more. Hero, though, decides to go for the Void Ray first. I never like Void Ray first. Yeah. Anyways, it's good when it comes to killing an Overlord. It just always feels like a very expensive Viking to me. But I guess it can kind of fly around. If you get a second Overlord with it, it's fine. Serral actually still rallying one of the OVs around, apparently believing that he's going to be able to get rid of that Overlord by sending it as far forward as possible, which is kind of ironic. Zerglings in the meantime, though, trying to see if they can potentially force that Void Ray back home. As the Lynx do manage to get the wraparound right now on 2 of the Adepts that are jammed in between the pylon as well as the Nexus. That's building nice and early here for Hero. This is going to force that Oracle that was produced after the Void Ray all the way back. You know what? The Overlord apparently managed to get a little bit of vision over there. It saw that the Oracle turned around, or at the very least the Oracle was spotted in another location, and now Serral decides to send the OV back. So one thing that sets Serral apart is just incredible. So this is the type of stuff that Serral will be... Oh, it's not a mistake? Oh, I was gonna bring up that he's incredibly clean. Okay, no, that was a mistake. That would be insane. It was added, apparently, these two drones were added to the Zergling control group. Something went a little bit off there. But generally speaking, that's the biggest mistake you'll see Serral make. He's only lost a single drone up to this point, as far as important losses go. Zergling's not really that relevant. And honestly, even though Hero doesn't have a bad opening here, I don't think anybody can really criticize Hero for what he's got here so far, or at the very least, nothing is terrible for him. This is not really the opener you're really hoping for. As Protoss, you're pretty much always aiming for like 2 digits worth of worker kills. Don't lose the Oracle. If you can get like 10 worker kills, life's pretty good. But at this point, he's only gotten a single one. And even though his economy is fine here, it is something worth noting. Okay, so this is good. Yeah, getting the kill right there on the hatchery. Drone also ended up going down, of course, so at least that Void Ray achieved something. But I guess the problem that I have with the Void Ray first is that it also kind of nullifies the oracles on the back of it, at least for the most part. So the reason why getting early worker kills is so important for Protoss is because Protoss is pretty timing attack oriented, and the timing here that Hero is going to be going for right now is going to be Blink together with the +1 ground attacks. If you get about a dozen worker kills, these attacks hit so much harder. So for Serral to not really take any damage here, that's really critical in the early game. It is probably pivotal, to be honest. Like, if he commits fully to the gateway push, it's going up to 7 gates right now. Now, this is a map where you can obviously, even if you don't have a prism, for example, you can just warp in at your 3rd and just send the stalkers in. If you don't take any damage in the early game, or barely any damage, defending is going to be so much easier. Now, this is still going to be tough, though. Hero is known for his phenomenal stalker micro. Creep spread has been denied through that center lane. Every roach matters. Okay. Overlord Scout, or Overseer Scout, is going to confirm exactly what's happening. But I think the real question is, will Serral be able to hold this attack? There's another Oracle coming, and apparently this is the final gateway that we're producing. There's even going to be a shield battery right next to it. Charged together with +1 armor as well. Fair enough. Okay, nice snipe right there on the Ravager. Trying to see if he can potentially get the Queen as well. Zerglings going around the back. Not really achieving what they want. Obviously, these Stalkers have Blink as well, so they should be able to stay alive easy peasy. Excellent sequence of events right here for Hero. It's going to be a Roach Hydra for defense here for Serral. Not messing around with +1 melee Zerglings, no Ling Bane shenanigans or anything along those lines, which is what quite a few of the Zergs are still favoring. There's no 4th Nexus, and Serral does know it. This is not a map where you really have a lot of locations where you can go ahead and take that 4th. Okay, good control. Trying to get rid of the creep. Creep takes about a minute or so to fully dissipate, so getting rid of any of it over here is going to take a minute, but should be okay. It is going to buy Serral a bunch of time, who does have that 6 worker advantage. Relatively small. Nice trigger right there as well, actually. Relatively small advantage here for the Zerg in that department, but again, that's because of that incredibly well-played early game here from the finisher. The Protoss army is growing, though. Zerglings running around trying to set off any stasis wards. So this is basically just pure Stalker Zealot. Big, aggressive Blink forward. Trying to see if he has enough right now to overwhelm it. Looks like the Hydras on the left side will indeed get sniped. Drones forced to pull away from their mineral line. Stalkers do blink back. Now that all of the Zealots have disappeared, and the Adepts, I think they should have probably gone into the natural expansion. They also get picked off for basically free. Serral holds with only 2 workers going down. How did he only lose 2 workers there? I thought I saw a bunch of drones hugging Zealots. Serral usually does a lot of attack moving and then stop commanding again, which changes the attack priority on those Zealots and Stalkers. Which probably explains why only 2 drones ended up going down there. Probes are once again started up again at home, and a 4th Nexus is building right now for Hero. Okay. This attack is going to fizzle out, though, over the next minute or 2. I don't think Hero can really sustain this for much longer, especially now that Zerg is just able to reinforce this continuously, and since most of the fights have taken place on creep. Double Robo on the back of this, as well as a 4th Nexus, as well as +2. This Zergling squad getting a... Ooh, that's big. Getting a cancel on the 4th Nexus is massive. Because now this puts Hero in a bit of an awkward position. Do you want to continue the all-in? Do you want to just restart the 4th Nexus and have it, like, minutes late? Serral, by the way, has not really added on any drones of his own in ages. But he's been transferring some of the workers, I think, from the main base and maybe even the natural expansion, probably soon, towards that 4th. Hydra's on the high ground. Hydra DPS is obviously much higher than that of Roaches. It's basically a very Hydra-heavy army here. Serral coming in with a massive flank, though, setting up a concave. And obviously that just means that he's got way more surface area. Finally, after minutes of skirmishing here, he will be able to shut down this aggression for good. Hero will be pushed all the way back, but obviously he can blink towards the high ground relatively easily. Assuming he's got vision. No, he should have vision. He's just trying to pick off whatever he can. I think this is an overextension, honestly, from Hero. Yeah. As time goes by, Serral right now is going to hit a new peak as far as his total army supply goes, and Hero's supply is way down the drain. No force field on the ramp. Nice juking right there by Serral. I mean, there is going to be a force field eventually. Only one Ravager remains, so that corrosive bowel cooldown is very critical. Snipes one more of the sentries. Overextension right here from Serral as well. He was hoping that he was going to be able to get his entire army up towards the high ground. Serral apparently smelling blood in the water. Feels like he needs to get the damage done right here, right now. There's no lurker transition, there's no hive, there's no +1 armor or anything like that, but there is just simply a mass amount of Roach Hydra. The old school unit composition that we used to see back in the early days of StarCraft apparently still holds strong. A Dark Shrine would have been nice here, but Hero doesn't have it, so there's really no way for him to shut down these Roaches and Hydras easily. He's gonna have to fight this army straight up. No battery overcharge over at the 4th Nexus. It looks like the Immortal production here is good enough for the Korean Protoss player to push this back. Stalkers are gonna get trapped. I don't think they can go anywhere. Yeah, these guys have accepted their fate. It's a sad day to be a fan of Stalkers. You guys can run, but you can't hide. Alright. So that means that Serral is once again just putting all of his focus right over here. The man has not made a worker since like minute 5. He's made one set of drones this entire game, and that's it. Imagine if Hero would have done anything else with the early game, right? Imagine if he decided to go straight oracles and he would have gotten like a dozen worker kills. I think this game would have looked very different, but as it is right now, Serral is starting to overwhelm the Protoss player. He is ready to swarm all over this army. Obviously, we're 12 minutes into the game, which means that the main and the natural expansion here of Hero are going to be running low as well. Same can be said for Serral, but he has the opportunity here to just, well, transfer the workers towards that 4th. GG is cold. It's Serral who wins game number 1. Yeah, so the key... This is what it all comes down to, right? If you're a top-level Zerg player watching this, it seems like the key, right? In order to win against Protoss in the current meta of StarCraft 2, is to just play really well. Just don't make any mistakes. I mean, did Serral... Okay, we saw him rally 2 drones on accident towards the other side of the map. That is honestly the biggest error I saw Serral make in the previous game. It's obviously impossible to play a perfect game, right? Humans are still limited by the weakness of the flesh. Maybe one day, if StarCraft players are allowed to, like, replace their body parts with artificial ones, maybe one day we'll be able to get the perfect game, but it is, yeah, I guess the goal is just to be as close to 100% optimal as possible, and it seems like Serral is closer to that 100% mark than anybody else. He's probably sitting at like 99.8 or something like it. Maybe that's a feature of the Finnish military. Serral, of course, in case you are unaware, he's doing his military service right now. So, going into this particular tournament, nobody really knew exactly how good Serral was, but also just in general, not really how good Zerg currently is. Like, it seems like Zerg across the board is struggling maybe a little bit more, but then you have guys like Serral that show up and that just look pretty much flawless. And you realize, no, Zerg's actually fine. Zerg seems totally okay. Yeah, I don't think it's really an issue. No, you just, yeah, don't make mistakes and you're probably okay. Did Hero make any critical errors that game? I think he overextended a few times. And I think in general, going for a Stalker all-in when you have an early game that isn't flawless is very tricky, right? Like, so remember for the longest time in StarCraft 2, we saw Queen Marches in this particular matchup. And usually what happened is Zergs would go for Queen Marches whenever Protoss played a pretty poor early game. And that Stalker all-in, even though the map is really good for it, that Stalker all-in is it reminds me a little bit of that particular playstyle. Yes, the Stalker all-in is really good when Zerg plays a poor early game, but when their early game is, well, as clean as the one that we just saw, I don't think it's that great of a follow-up. There are, of course, just more macro-focused Stalker follow-ups. But going for the all-in variant, I mean, it could also just be that Hero is not really comfortable playing a macro game. It's how he wins most of his matches, right? So he is very good at going for those timing attacks, but maybe against Serral in particular, he's feeling a little bit more urgency to try and get the game over with. Anyways, it's gonna be a straight Oracle this time around from Hero. Not really messing around with anything else. Overlord is gonna be flying on over towards the little pillar. But I would imagine that the Oracle is going to provide the high ground vision necessary for that Overlord to die. Yeah. Yeah, pay your respects to Otto the Overlord. You want to know how you hit the... yeah, you know how to do it? You know how to pay respects to Otto? Hitting the like button? Ha! Hitting the like button below the video. That's how you do it. I heard that the way to be a YouTuber in 2024... is to basically beg viewers for liking the video. Yeah, you gotta do things like, for example, if we get 2,500 likes on this video, I'll upload another one. Yeah, you gotta do things like that. And if we won't, guess what? Yeah, I will still upload another one. Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I will still upload another one anyways. But I would appreciate it. It'd be nice. Anyways, Oracle's flying around. How much damage can we get this time around, Hero? 2 Zerglings and an Overlord? 3 Zerglings and an Overlord. Adepts forced to go back home. They're going to be used to defend the 3rd. Stasis Ward in the main base. Achieving nothing. There's the Twilight Council again. Are we going to go for the Forge at the same time? Yes, we are. Yeah, Protoss in a very strange way is designed to deal some sort of damage in the early game. Like, it's balanced when Protoss deals like 5 workers worth of damage. I don't really know exactly if the number is 5, but that's when it becomes balanced. And very frequently do we see a dozen workers going down, and then Protoss is ahead. But if you deal no damage, life's tough. Now, this is much better though for Hero than what we saw in the previous game. At least he's forcing a lot of lost mining time. Adepts are going to be recalled back home. I mean, I say much better. We're still talking 0 workers down, but he also hasn't lost anything of his own. There's once again Blink, together with the +1 ground. So we're gonna get a repeat of exactly what we saw just now in the first game. Bit of a different variation though. This is obviously not Glaive to Depths. Oh, full walling? No, there's a hole in the wall. See, if Serral was a robot, this wouldn't have been an issue. My god. Washed up? I think Serral's washed up, confirmed. Yeah, I think that proves it. Tried to make a wall off in a split second, didn't even get it down perfectly. Now this is much nicer here for Hero. He needs to get like, I want to say like 6-7 kills minimum. He is obviously sacking all of these Adepts. But like I said, this is not a Glaive to Depth opener. Yeah, I'm not in love with it. The main advantage here for Hero is that he knows there's only a certain time period during which the Zerg player can really drone here. It looks like Hero, okay, rather than going for the all-in variant of the build, he's gonna go for a 4th Nexus much earlier than what we saw in the previous game. So, he's done damage now, but I don't think he's gonna be able to capitalize. Serral's already droned way back up. Serral, by the way, reading this game better than I am, because he's already preparing for a tech transition. He's already gone for the infestation pit. He's already re-droning up a 4th base. I'm not exactly sure what vision he had that gave him the heads up that this is okay for him to go ahead and do, because it does seem a little bit risky after you lose about 9 workers. I guess this particular opener here from Hero, he would have already seen that his opponent had more Stalkers out, I guess, right? So he's only seen about 5 Stalkers. If that's the case. 6 Stalkers, by the way. I can count. Nice. Yeah, I think with this particular opener, he just hasn't seen enough, so he's been droning pretty aggressively. Yeah, I think if Hero would have done a similar move in the previous game, and then did the Stalker follow up, he would have been able to do a lot more damage. Right now, I don't hate it, I don't mind it, but I don't think we can really call this a significant lead here for the Protoss player. There's the Hive coming, Hydra Den once again. I feel like the Hydra Den is kind of late. I'm assuming the follow-up here is going to be Lurkers. And normally, look at the Queen flank. Normally the Lurkers would be started up right now, or the Lurker Den would be started up. Queen flank though, coming in hot. Okay, Queens. Ooh, that's a lot of Oracles up in the air. I do love the Oracles, man. I'm glad that we see Hero actually doubling down on the Oracle production. Yeah. 2 Oracles for like 4 Queens or so is actually pretty good, because Zerg is going to have to remake it. Serral does decide to go for the Lurker Den. It's a little disjointed right now with the Hive. Just straight up Hydra seems to be the play. Serral not going +1 melee in any of his ZVPs, is he? In the Zerg vs Protoss games I've seen him play in this tournament, I don't remember him ever going +1 melee. A lot of the other Zergs are still going +1 melee, but it seems like he's going straight missile upgrades. I would not be surprised if this is going to be what we're doing. What we're going to be seeing from every top-level Zerg. Alright. Hero not following this up with any sort of robo play or anything like that yet. I'm assuming we're going to be seeing a transition like that coming up momentarily. He's decided to go for a 5th Nexus already, adding on more and more gateways. Is this the Gateway Man style? Normally the Gateway Man style is something we play against Terran, but... This is, by the way, an official strategy. Ah, there's the Robos. Oh, we're going triple Robo? Yeah, that makes me believe he meant to make them a little earlier. And he's now like, oh, wait. Oh, I guess I'll make a 3rd one a bit quicker. +3 ground already coming up. So the Gateway Man style is a strategy where you just make a load of stuff. Against Terran, usually this is what Protoss players do whenever they're... So, historically against Terran, Protoss would usually have like 4 units out, but they're all really high-tech units, right? So you have like 4 units, but you have to micro them perfectly. And then Protoss players realize, wait a second, what if I just played a Gateway Man strategy, and I can just warp in lower tier units instead, and then I don't have to be so cautious with everything that I do. I don't have to be positioned perfectly, because I can actually make units. The Robo facilities, I'm assuming they're mostly a response here to seeing the Lurker transition from the Zerg. But whenever you have to start up a Robo facility when the Lurkers are already hitting the battlefield, life is tough. Like this attack right here from Serral that's gonna come across the map is gonna be met with basically no Immortal resistance. No Immortals, no Archons. A couple Lurkers over here as well up north together with some Roach Hydra to try and set this up. The Zealot run by mostly just here to try and buy time. Because Hero knows that he's going to need Lurkers if he need, he's going to have a counter against Lurkers if he wants to stay alive. I think the Zealot run by is actually here his saving grace. I say saving grace, I mean he's all the way up to 84 workers. He's got a massive economy, he's got a lot of production, but he's producing gateway units into somebody who's going Lurkers. And if there's one unit that, well, Lurkers are really good against, it would be Zealots and Stalkers. That's one unit, apparently. Alright, here we go. Big blink forward. Immortals in the back as well. Trying to see if they can just shut down these Lurkers to the best of their abilities. There's still a fight happening as well on the other side of the map. Zealots, though, are going to get cleaned up in this area for sure. I think, yeah, ultimately the Lurker damage here is just too good against this massive Zealot-based army. So the transition is underway here for Hero. He's trying to go Immortal Archon. Immortal Archon, significantly better. Maybe now regretting, by the way, that he ended up sacrificing a bunch of his Oracles against those Queens earlier. Imagine having 5 Oracles available at this point in time. Probably pretty good. Is there enough for Hero? Honestly, his economy is good. He's got a lot of workers still. He managed to keep the majority of them alive. Serral redroning, by the way. Not convinced that he's got a better army to just straight up win the game with. But honestly, I'm looking at this army of his right now, and it's looking powerful. The immortal count is growing, though. He's looking for the right angle. Battery overcharge has been popped. Okay. If he loses the 4th Nexus, he's in a world of trouble. Another Zealot run-by is attempted, but Serral apparently anticipating that this is going to be coming in. Archon's thinking about going for a flank around the site. More lurkers are coming. We have Adrenal Glands together with +2/+1 here. So the army is only going to get stronger from here. One of the Immortals gets picked off for free. Zealot Warp in from there, apparently not achieving much. Yeah, and a counter here for Zerg is just more lurkers. Okay, yep. I think Hero has decided and realized the same thing. He needs to go across right now. He cannot face this Zerg army head on. This slow push from the Zerg is basically impossible for him to stop. Now suddenly though, having those robo facilities over at the 3rd base is such as an exposed location. It's a bit of a disaster. Hero trying to see if he potentially has enough to force that Zerg army back home. Lurkers desperately running for their lives, but the 3rd Nexus is already gone. Well, at least it will be gone here in just a moment. No saving this one anymore. I feel like losing the robo facilities here is so painful. Hero queuing up to the best of his abilities, apparently, trying to see if he can just produce a few more of those units. 3rd hatchery, though, of the Zerg player also has disappeared at this point in time. Hero's army is still looking solid. Problem is, it's not good enough against that of the Zerg, and Serral is slow pushing here. Yeah, maneuvering around his lurkers like they're siege tanks. Unburrowing the ones in the back to try and, well, move them a little bit further forward. Leapfrogging them one at a time. Reinforcing Zerg units are showing up, and it looks like the Zerg reinforcements may honestly be mostly enough here to deal with this massive Protoss army, or at least what used to be a massive Protoss army. Recall gets used. Hero tries to hold on to his natural expansion. And even though this game is looking a whole lot better here for the Korean Protoss than game number 1 in this series, it is ultimately Serral who absolutely dominates this best of 3. One more? Let's do one more. I wanted to check out this series, but I know that if I uploaded it as a separate video, a lot of you would choose not to watch it because it's a mirror matchup. Spotted right here in the top left corner. I'm like that parent who's like, I took a fork to your broccoli, you know, and I tried to mix it in with your potatoes and your meat and whatnot. I'm just trying to get you to eat some veggies right now. I'm trying to get you to watch some mirror matchups because they're really good. Spotting right here in the top left corner in game number 1, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Serral. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Zerg drones, he goes by the name of SHIN. Haven't seen this series. Nobody recommended this series. But I want to watch some ZVZ as well, because I feel like it's been ages since I had a look at top-level Zerg versus Zerg. And a matchup between these two is actually quite fun. So, last year, a lot of people think that Serral had a bad year in 2023. Last year, there were 2 really large tournaments that Serral got eliminated in. So, there was Gamers 8, which was a really large tournament, and then, well, over in Riyadh. And then we also had IEM Katowice in Poland. I think that was back in February. Serral ended up losing Zerg versus Zergs in both of those tournaments. At Gamers 8, he got eliminated by Solar. At IEM Katowice in 2023, he got eliminated by, well, at the time he didn't go by the name of SHIN, but he decided to change his nickname some time ago. But he got eliminated by Ragnarok. A very infamous series that ended on the map Altitude. In that particular series, Serral had a bit of a misread and he decided to GG out in a game that really wasn't over yet because at the time Ragnarok decided to transfer drones towards his 3rd base, and well, Serral apparently read that as his opponent having like 60 workers when in reality there were more like 48 or something. Anyways, long story short, Serral has lost against SHIN in a Premier StarCraft 2 tournament, and historically his Zerg versus Zerg has always been his worst matchup. So we'll see. We'll see what ended up going down between these two. Would I consider SHIN to be a favorite going up against Serral? Honestly, no. Even though he's got a good win rate against him historically, and obviously he's already managed to do it in the past, I don't think anybody is favored against Serral. I don't want to sound too much like a Serral fanboy, but the stats don't lie. I actually think the mirror matchups in StarCraft 2 are all really, really good. Terran versus Terran, Protoss versus Protoss, Zerg versus Zerg. I love them, but I have noticed that whenever I upload a video, unless it's like featuring two players going battle cruisers or something, you know? Unless it's like battle cruiser wars, barely anybody would watch the Zerg versus Zerg straight up. Yeah, I think it's very good. Alrighty, so obviously this is played, by the way, at an offline venue. This was played in Dallas, so no ping advantages. That's another thing for online ZVZ in particular. If you have, well, for example, a European going up against a Korean, normally the games are played on the American server, which means that both players get quite a bit of ping. And usually they'll be hesitant at the very least to go into Ling Bane Wars, because it's such a fast-paced unit composition that when everything is delayed by like 0.1, 0.2 seconds, it becomes pretty much impossible to micro perfectly. Very normal openers here though from both players. We should see an Evo chamber here in just a moment. Apparently Serral going for the Roach Warren instead, 3.5 minutes into the game. Roach Warren as well coming up on the other side of the map. SHIN not putting it in the wall of, mostly because I think he's kind of blocked himself with the creep tumor. I don't love that creep tumor positioning, but shouldn't be the end of the world. Yeah, I would love it if a Zerg versus Zerg would end with Battlecruiser Wars. I think actually the worst viewed matchup that I can upload is a Protoss versus Protoss. For some reason, nobody wants to watch PvP. It's a shame, because PvP can be really good too. And whenever I do upload a mirror matchup, it's gonna be a bit of a banger. But just, I guess the mirror matchups just leave a bit of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Nice attempt right here on a Link Scout, but SHIN is not going to be able to get into the main base. What he's looking for right now is the timing of the opponent's lair. Now, neither player is actually committing to a lair yet, which is interesting. Yeah, they're both actually just pumping out as many units as they can right now. So Serral has gone up to 47 drones. SHIN has got 41 at this point in time. It does mean that SHIN currently has a bigger army, so this scout here from Serral is wonderful, because he will be able to, see how many workers there currently are on that on this nexus. Nice. Still got a Protoss versus Protoss in my mind. How many drones there currently are on that command center. And he notices that there's definitely, well, more spawning, but not quite as many as he's got right now. Or at least not when he did go in for that Link Scout. That means, yeah, that the opponent can really only ever go for an attack. Serral starts up a Spine Crawler. Lair on the back of this right now for SHIN. He's also droning pretty heavily, so he's not really going completely all in, but he's certainly aiming to get some sort of damage done. Although, a wipe of the armies might just be okay here for SHIN. He's droning really greedily. Obviously, Serral at this point is going to be making non-stop army. The Zergling run by attempted over in the natural expansion, but Banelings on the high ground have prevented that from really putting in a lot of work. Now it's a bit awkward here for Serral as well, because obviously he doesn't have a lair. And without a lair, okay, he starts it up at this point in time, but without a lair, it is going to be hard to really do much over the next couple minutes. As soon as SHIN gets up towards that additional tech, he can fire up, in just Roach battles, he can fire up the good old Roach Speed. And Roach Speed, when your opponent doesn't have it, it basically means that you're going to be allowed to be aggressive until the opponent clears up that upgrade. So there we go. It also opens up the opportunity here for SHIN to go into a Spire if he really wants to. Dangerous play because the Spire is very expensive. And in general, it's a bit of a risk. A lot of Zerg players don't really like going into the Spire when it's a game like this one, where you're both kind of making the same units. You know, your opponent might just be able to go for an attack. Because even though it's tough here for Serral to go for a push because he doesn't have Roach Speed yet, he also doesn't even have it started up. He doesn't know that his opponent had a much faster lair. So sometimes you might just find yourself in a weird situation where theoretically it would be bad for your opponent to attack in a normal game. But realistically, your opponent doesn't have that information. And sometimes you might still get lucky in that department. Serral apparently anticipating that this actually could be a Mutalisk transition right now. Or maybe much like the Protoss versus Zerg matchup, he's feeling like Roach Hydra is the way to go. Honestly, a very tiptoed strategy so far, though. Neither player really committing too much. He's scouting around right now, sees no Spire anywhere. Okay. Overlord Speed coming up too. Just a mass amount of roaches. 112, 114 army supply versus, well, about 10 less here. Obviously, Serral, though, does have the defender's advantage. He decides to just shove forward with his entire blue army. A dangerous play, because that means that most of that speed upgrade is mitigated. Reinforcements, obviously, here for the player in red will spawn significantly closer to the fight. That means that the longer this goes on, the better it should be for Serral. Also, because he's got more workers. That Spinecrawler really handy. Queen's also helping out quite a bit. Yeah, I don't think I like this push here for SHIN. He's kind of committed, so he wants to see if he can just win straight up with this attack, but it's always going to fizzle out. Like, unless you overwhelm the opponent right at the very beginning of that fight, then you can just keep piling on the pressure. If the fight takes like half a minute or more, the defender is pretty much always going to be able to win. So now it means that SHIN is going to be on the run. Hydra then, by the way, got cancelled, so that really was just in case of a potential Muta transition. Overlord speed, Overseer speed at this point is gone, or it's done, and just upon seeing that lack of gas, for example, Serral can already pinpoint. He's actually got 2 Overseers going around. He can already realize here that there is indeed no Spire player or anything along those lines. A 4th hatchery was produced during all of this. Even though he doesn't really have workers for it yet, there are not a lot of them. Oh, this is also a massive concave advantage right here. I'm surprised SHIN decides to also push into this. Same situation as the previous one, except his service area here is significantly worse. Roaches here, after hunting down the Ravagers, they are now used to body block the rest of that army from retreating. And SHIN, well, very similarly to Hero, feels like he needs to hurry up and get the game over with. It feels to me like Serral has got this aura as well, right? Where other pro gamers, they know they're playing against him, and he just, I don't know, they're no longer comfortable playing the macro game. Like, we saw a little bit of that from Hero, but we saw a lot of it just now from SHIN, where SHIN really didn't need to be that aggressive. It could have obviously just been a misread from him. He was a little bit behind as far as the economy goes, but he had like a, you know, he had faster tech than his opponent, and he certainly wasn't in a situation where he needed to go all in. But it feels like a lot of players are, when they're going up against Serral, they're going for more aggressive strategies than they would otherwise be playing. So the late game of Zerg versus Zerg, it currently looks like Hydra Lurker Viper. Hydra Lurker Viper is the end-all be-all unit composition. We were still at least 10-15 minutes away from that in the previous game, but maybe SHIN just didn't want to go in that direction at all. Maybe he just didn't really feel like doing any of that. Are we gonna get an Overlord kiss? Aww. Yeah. Kind of. Sort of. That was more like a peck on the cheek. More like a high five. I think that's beautiful too. All these Zerg players. A little bit of love to go around. Alrighty, now obviously Golden Aura, I would imagine this is Serral's map pick. This is a map where you can defend very easily. That seems to be the theme in every single Serral game. Defend, 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 attack. In every matchup. In ZVT, usually it's more attack, 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 attack. After defending relentlessly, but just try to stay alive early on. Okay. So no early pool shenanigans here. At this level of play, even though on the ladder you will see a lot of Zergling cheese, you will see a lot of Ling Bane rushes, a lot of 12 pools, a lot of early game aggression. At this level of play, it is considered to be quite a weak opener. We do see it from time to time, obviously. We see like a 12 pool into, say, for example, like a 17 hatch, or 12 pool into just a complete all-in, or like 12-11 with a super quick gas geyser. There is quite a bit of aggression that can still catch the opponent off guard, but I think maybe this is once again that aura, right? But I think a lot of players just know that at this level, the micro is going to be too good for that to really be an effective style. Veiling Nests, once again coming up. Last game we saw Roach Warrens at about 3.5 minutes on both sides of the map. Both players, yep, pulling one drone out of gas. So you pull one drone out when you get up to 100. Fire up the metabolic boost, and then we'll see one single drone pulled out of the gas geyser. You don't want to get too much gas too quickly, because there's no reason for it. But yeah, ZVZ more so than any other matchup though. It's such a slippery slope. Any StarCraft game is quick. Margin for error is tiny, but in ZVZ, my god, it is so easy to just slip up and make a mistake. There's a Roach Warren again, 3.5 minutes. Roach Warren as well on the other side of the map. Okay, so it looks like basically a straight copy in game number 2 here. We have to see if any player wants to deviate at all. I don't think the game started off poorly for SHIN at all. I think he played good. And then he decided to just commit to 2 fights that pretty obviously, right? Like that's what worries me a little bit here for SHIN. 2 engagements with the roaches that pretty obviously were never gonna work out favorably. Like he had like 30 seconds in that first fight to back off, and he just didn't. I know he was committed to that push, but if even a newbie like myself looks at that fight before it starts, and I think I immediately called that it wasn't going to be a good engagement for him. I would imagine that SHIN, he needs less information than me. I would imagine that SHIN could pick up on that immediately. SHIN now making a big round of links. This is that Ling Bane dance. Perfect micro here from Serral. Serral droning, by the way, right now. Giga Chat Serral has about 20 Zerglings knocking at his front door. Baneling or 2 mixed in as well, decides to make drones only. If you look at the worker count here right now, we're talking, yeah, a very substantial lead for the player from Finland. That means that SHIN is going to be committed to a big roach push. He needs to. But on this map, I like this push even less than I did on the previous map. Okay, unless we can get the Lings in? Yeah, I was thinking about it, but the Baneling was going to be able to probably get about half of them. Nidus Worm coming up for Serral. Really? Okay, so SHIN's all-in is going to be met with an all-in. Serral apparently feeling confident enough. Okay, I was going to say that he doesn't need the 150 minerals and 150 gas. Turns out it was just a bit of a misread. Instead, we're canceling gases, we're canceling the Nidus, and we're going to commit to a wall-off, a bunch of spine crawlers, and full-on unit production. And when you're both making the exact same army... Oh, this wall-off here. It's so good. But when you're both making the exact same army, and you've got more drones than... Never mind, guys. Remember that wall-off that I called really good? It sucks! Anyways, when you're both making the same army, but one player has way more workers, and that player is also the defender... I mean, same situation as in game number 1. SHIN's push here is falling flat on its face. I actually think that maybe it was on purpose. I would not be surprised, actually, if the positioning right there of those Evos was actually on purpose. Just to sort of, like, sprinkle in one of those Banelings at a time. Now, it's going to be Serral who will be able to lead as far as the tech goes. But I'm honestly a little bit concerned here. Maybe he could have kept the Nidus. I think he could have kept the Nidus. Nidus counterattack right now would probably seal the deal for Serral, but he didn't really want to take any chances. Serral hitting a supply block. What? I don't know what to say. Oh, well, SHIN knows what to say. He just says GG and he gets out. He knows where this game is headed. He doesn't like it. He is looking to end the game when he feels like he needs to. Not keen to play a long match whatsoever. And I think that's suiting Serral just fine. Serral now has multiple opportunities to just go for a cheese if he wants to. Okay, Serral's mixing it up. Ay. Can you imagine it? 15 hatch rather than a 16 supply hatch. Ay. We're doing a 15-15. So this is going to be an Overlord next, and then a spawning pool. This is a hatchery timing that's specifically good if you expect your opponent to go for some cheese. So I think I think that Serral at this point in time is also feeling like his opponent is not confident. So it may be a little bit weird to talk about confidence when you look at 2 guys playing video games. At least that's one of the things that I hear people that don't watch a lot of esports talk about quite a bit. They're like, confidence. All they're doing is sitting in front of their computer monitors, hitting the keys really quick. How can you be confident about that? Well, the way that SHIN has been playing here so far is not confidence-inspiring whatsoever. I think Serral is looking to play a similar game as game number 1 and 2. Because evidently so far, all he needs to do is just play defensively. His opponent is apparently, yeah, happy to throw away armies, and if that's the case, all you need to do is just chill. Okay. Shin's going to see the timing of the 15 hatch. You can tell here that the hatchery is a little bit quicker than the one that Shin ended up going for himself. Shin, of course, though, one of the very best Zerg players in the world, so he should be able to pick up on that easy peasy. This is a map, though, Ghost River, that has a very quick rush distance. So the rush distance from natural to natural on this map is just very fast. You can even knock down the rocks if you want to, and create an even faster path towards your opponent's side of the map. So I don't think Shin really should be concerned about any sort of aggression here from Serral. But it is worth noting that Serral has mixed up his early game just a little bit. Once again, though, we're gonna mine 2 drones and gas. So one downside of going for a 15 hatch, so 15 hatch, 15 overlord into a spawning pool, is that your gas is going to be significantly later. So at this point, Serral finally hits 100. The question is, do you still want to go link speed here? And apparently the answer is no. Yeah. I think Serral will likely be playing a 2-base opener here, this time around. You can, of course, play a 15 hatch with a faster gas geyser, but that would delay your spawning pool. So, in a very strange way. So, Serral starts up link speed here. Is he going to cancel it again? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Serral playing a 2-base opener, faking the link speed to his opponent's link scout. And then he decides to cancel the gas and go into, or cancel the gas spent and go into the lair instead. Wall off right over here at the front. Now it becomes a really tricky game for Shin, though. And one of the reasons why I love this opener here from Serral myself, it's really good if you're a ladder hero. Now your opponent is going to start wondering what in the world is going on, right? You can't really play Ling Bane on 2-base, because you just need more larva production. But you also, likewise, yeah, if you decide to cancel link speed, you can go into a quick lair, you can go into a spire, you can go into a nidus worm, you can just go into roach speed and make a 3rd nexus. A nexus again? Anyways, you can make a nexus here. You can make a Zerg command center here a little bit later on into the game. It's up to Shin right now to figure out how many drones he can get away with and how much economy he can get before he needs to start making army. But at the very least, this is putting Serral in the driver's seat right now. He sees the timing of the Overseer. He sees the lair. That's all he really needs to know. He's going to lose an Overlord, though, it seems. Okay. +1 missile. Roach speed on the back of this. I think this is just going to be a 2-base timing attack here from Serral. Yeah. 3rd hatchery on the back of it, but I think he's just going to go for basically a 2-base all-in, which is something we have historically seen very frequently. But over the last 5 years... over the last 5 years, not a very popular style. Queen body block. Oh, that was pretty. I like it, Brenda. Oh, we're creating a highway. It's a highway of creep. Are we gonna go and head all the way across the map? Or are we just hunting overlords? I think we're gonna go all the way across. Yep. A little bit of overlord poop goes a long way. 3rd hatchery, by the way, never started up. So Serral actually playing some cheeky little mind games here. He lost the drone, yes, but he also overextended with the drone. And maybe that's what he did on purpose. 2 overlord kills right now from the... well, Brenda and Karen over here at the front. This is a very slow attack, though, from Serral, but one thing he obviously had is workers much earlier on into the game. So even though Shin right now is caught up into the worker count because of the 3rd hatchery timing, right? He's gonna get a little bit more mining eventually, but Serral lacking that 3rd hatch earlier on. He was able to spend those resources on additional drones on 2 bases instead. Now it's gonna be Serral who will be aggressive for the first time in his entire series. Is there enough? A lot of Ravagers in the mix. I don't love this attack, though, from Serral, but I think it might just barely be okay. A lot of reinforcements are showing up. Yeah, Serral does have the Roach speed upgrade here, right? So he can get those units across the map very rapidly, and I think he may just have the numbers. The Queen's also showing here, together with those Ravagers, absolutely massive. We're gonna apparently bow down, there you go, one of the cocoons to prevent the reinforcing Roach, and this is what SHIN was hoping for in the previous games that we just watched. This is what he was hoping to achieve with his attacks. He was not able to get it done. But Serral, he obtains the win here. And with that, wins the series 3-0 over SHIN.